Yes, I'm still big on the internet. I think it's still a really good thing. Now, at the time of this recording, there's still some fussing and cussing and mucking around here because this thing is so huge, is so new, that there is immediately going to be an onslaught of disturbance, theft, destruction, cyber war kind of stuff going on. Because it's also really new. You think, hey, it's been up for 20 years. Folks, that's nothing for what this system of internet connection, worldwide communications, photos, videos, made by you, that you can put up on the world. It's never happened in human history. So as long as we still got these ridiculous prohibitions attitude of prohibition, you're still having a multi-billion-dollar criminal enterprise that has been funded for years by the stupidity of the war on drugs. So they got billions of dollars to funnel into new internet criminal activities, right? They don't just stay in drugs and buying papers. They branch out. They got all this money, now they're going to branch out and take over and manipulate other things as well. That's why you've got to end the stupidity of the prohibition policy. You got to end the whole idea of that policy, which is all about denial and repression about things that it's just too late, folks. It's time that everybody just wakes up, comes out of their little moralistic haze, and gets in time to the 21st century reality. It's time to legalize prostitution. It's time to legalize drugs so that we run it, not criminal enterprises. There is no hooga-booga about this anymore. You've seen the disaster and ongoing disaster that prohibition policy has created and will continue to create, because it's all about denial. It's trying to say, oh, you can't gamble. Oh, you can't drink alcohol. Oh, you can't do drugs. No, you can't get a prostitute, have sex for pay. Now you put all those together and you see, now, what's that about? Prohibition? And you see it's from that old toga and sandals moralistic disaster. Because their moralistic disaster was caused because they had to force their moralism on all of us. And to do that, to enforce prohibition, you develop a police state of terrorism and abuse, and you develop and now with the internet, multinational criminal enterprises that are making way too much money. So it's time to come out of your rabbit hole, get your head out of the sand, and come into the light of the 21st century. And we'll cut billions and billions and billions of dollars out of the economy of crime, of criminal enterprise. Then we can get on to this interestingly evolving thing called the internet. Because, folks, there's a lot to get a grip on here. It's still, it's still happening. It's still just kind of figuring things out. And other people are trying to figure out ways to fuck it up or use that incredible amount of information to screw you over and steal from you. Take identity theft. That type of stuff. And so far it's way too easy. Because you haven't caught up to the ramifications of this digital reality and the internet. We got to get hip, and we got to get up there pretty fast. Stay ahead of the curve. So the internet itself is still a good thing, and you want to push it in the direction of peace, communication, environmental sanity instead of poison and pollution. You want to move it toward cooperation. And you're going to have to change your whole moralistic ding-dongness about sex, drugs. Now here in the U.S., you've pretty much legalized gambling, and you've legalized alcohol for years because you tried the policy of prohibition, and all you generated was Al Capone, gangsters, drive-by shootings, bombings, assassinations, turning politicians, police, the whole justice system into criminals. So we kind of got to see the light there finally, and ended prohibition on alcohol. Now that should have been a signal to start thinking about all the other stuff that's on prohibition too. But we didn't. So gradually, only recently, you're seeing this generally legalized gambling. And you got to do the last two. You got to legalize prostitution, and you got to legalize drugs. We have to run it, not criminal enterprise. That's all there is to it. 21st century stuff. 21st century reality. And we got to tangle with this thing about the internet, of how all your information, of banking, of money itself. Because in the digital thing, one, what is work anyway getting to be? Two, what is the deal about the economic system? It needs a review. And you got to get up with the stuff about your personal information that's, we quite naively dumped on this incredible open sesame treasure box called the internet. So all that stuff has to be looked on and, pick up the pace here to solve some questions about it and ideas about it. Now, one is maybe there is no longer such thing as privacy. Maybe you just got to see sort of the ramifications that you are, where what you say, what you do, is you. So this thing of the internet is going to cause that dramatic of a change. Something about, maybe there just isn't privacy, security like we think of it now. Some other system of just where you don't really need to hide anything because, we got rid of all the prohibitions, so you're not being chastised by the police because you do drugs or you go to a prostitute or you go gambling and somebody wants to use it against you for some reason or something like that. That's out of the way. A lot of you listening to this, in reality, you've seen internet porn, or you see it somewhat regularly. But So everybody does, so what? It becomes a so what instead of, geez, in and of itself. Now, if you become a rapist, if you injure people, if you're violent, destructive, well, there it is. But still, as from what we do now, where everybody would be, so shy and nervous about knowing that their internet porn that they save on their hard drive is, something may be worried about, or what sites they visit because they can be tracked and whatnot, and that'd be exposed. You got to give that kind of stuff up. That somehow that's a scary squiggly woogly. Instead, you got to just say, it's the deal of being in the internet age is openness. So we have to change the thing about money, the thing about work, and the thing about privacy and security. You got a security. Internet of your data, what we have now. Some other thing, obviously, because they keep trying to find ways, and so far, it's digital. So it seems like you can put up a defense, and the hackers and guys want to figure it out, and they'll work on it, see if they can find out a way in. And so far, there seems to be working for them. So maybe you can't keep up with that kind of attitude, and instead, just like coming to the reality of the prohibitions, people like to have sex. People like to have a certain amount of intoxication. People like to gamble a certain amount. And all that really means is you got to be responsible. You got to be informed, educated, and then it's your responsibility. In the same way, something has to be done so that your privacy and your security issues type of thing no longer really matter. The way we think of them today is like, uptight, you don't want to, don't look in the hard drive, who knows, what they've been looking at, And instead, it's to a certain extent, if you're not hurting anybody, if whatnot, well, that's your business. Because the reality is, so many of you do look at internet porn. So that can't be an issue anymore. And so all the other stuff of the internet like that. So I'm still big on it. I still think the internet is still an important factor. A huge, incredible advantage for all of us. As long as we get to shape it toward the direction so that it does work to our advantage, just like the economy should as well. Should be for us. They don't worry about profit. It's got to be worried about people, about us. And so naturally that means, well, the planet as well. Because to keep people, we got to get everything of the food, water, and air from this planet. So we change our attitude there to really the biggest criminals are those who poison and pollute the planet. Because they're poisoning and polluting us, our water supply, our air supply, our food chain. So we exchange that way too in the 21st century. Our attitude of things. And so that naturally is pulling you away from the gross stupidity of a profit at all price economy system. You don't stand in the mirror and look at a thing and it says, some shape of profit. What you look at is you. And you are the point. You are more important than profit. All of you. And it even says it right there in our Constitution, Bill of Rights, Declaration of Independence. We the people. Well, it's time to really implement that in the 21st century here. intelligently. Because it doesn't say, we the corporations. It doesn't say, we the banks. It doesn't say, we the Christians. And it doesn't say, we the white people. It's we the people. So that generation down after generation, you, your grandkids, your great-grandkids, blah, 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 down the line it goes. They all get a Constitution. They get a Bill of Rights. That's important. That's really important. And here in the, all this internet, this digital age, it's even more important. And it's more common sense. So come into the light of this 21st century.